Hi guys, welcome to today's Trending. My name's Richard Willett.
And I'm Gareth Ike. Today's show is sponsored by Red Life Devices, Red Light Therapy. For healing on a cellular level, head over to redlifedevices.com and use the code ICONIC for 10% off all Red Life devices. Right, what are you kicking us off with today, Rich?
I'll tell you what's kicking off. Fire.
Wildfires.
Wildfires. California firefighters battle wildfire sweeping exclusively through Los Angeles hillside, dotted with celebrities' homes.
I love that that's what matters.
That's the first bit, isn't it?
That's the bit, yeah. Don't worry, everyone. Everyone, it's just a wildfire. It's just killing poor people and taking their homes. It's fine. Oh, well, there's celebrities.
There's celebrities there. There is one point in this article here from Sky News where they talk about having to evacuate elderly people from old people's homes. That's usually where the elderly people are. And whilst they're still in their beds and their wheelchairs. Imagine that. Like a fire burning in the back. I'm going to go out, but this is the way. I didn't think this was the apocalyptic end times feel of that.
It must be terrifying.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, around 30,000 residents have been ordered to leave because of fire tearing through the foothills of the upmarket Pacific Palisades, located between Santa Monica and Malibu. 30,000 people. Now, we know from being who we are, conspiracy theorists, not right-wing stuff, that's going to be attached straight away to climate change, isn't it?
I'm surprised it hasn't been already.
It has.
There we go.
Basically, yeah. Everyone's obviously talking about the climate change element of that. And one of the things that people don't sort of tend to understand, who don't look into this stuff, many people who will be watching this will, is the Club of Rome's connection to... Basically, it was created to push this climate change agenda, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because I'm old enough to remember when it was global warming. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
But you
acid
were limited.
rain.
Acid rain. I remember acid rain in the 80s. But you were limited with global warming because obviously if the temperatures go up, you can say it's global warming. That's fine. But if anything else happens, you kind of can't. So they changed it to climate change, which means we've had a cold snap. It's climate change. God, it's been hot, isn't it? It's climate change. It's very windy. It's climate change. We haven't had a storm for ages. It's climate change. And obviously they say that the wildfires are climate change. And you know that actually if we go 2 years without a wildfire, they'll say that's climate change as well.
Well, they will, yeah. So I noticed that, the climate change, and you kind of level yourself off with global warming, don't you? Because you go outside and you're, like today, couldn't feel my fingers on the way to...
Yeah, absolutely freezing here in the Midlands, English Midlands today. But yeah, with climate change, it's endless. It's unlimited. You can pin everything on it.
Well, it says, take that, said, everything changes but you. And then we do change. So even that isn't true because I look nothing like I did when I was 4.
No, this is true.
Same height. But other than that, like physically, everything changes but you. And I love the fact that I got to take that quote in there.
Well, that was one thing I was worried about, is how we'd get to take that quote in today's episode of Trending.
But I have got a quote that actually makes far more sense from the First Global Revolution, which is a book from the Club of Rome. Now, they try and pin all of this on the crucial word is human-caused climate change.
Of course.
Because climate does change.
Yeah.
So you mean to argue that the climate doesn't change is a bit silly, but...
Well, they added that in, didn't they, Rich?
Yeah.
Because it was just climate change, and people made the very valid point, which is, well, the climate has always changed. You know, people were ice skating on the River Thames in the Victorian era. They were growing grapes in the Roman era here and making wine up in Yorkshire, which now, good luck doing that. So they added the human cause then at that point, didn't it?
I love that you know that.
It's sad knowledge.
It's such good history knowledge. Well, you get a mixture of everything on this show. So the common enemy of humanity is, I guess what it is, Gareth? Guess what it is?
Humanity itself?
Yeah, humanity itself. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, this is from the Club of Rome's book, by the way, The First Global Revolution. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. It's literally like, we need an excuse, isn't it?
Yeah.
In their totality and in their interactions, these phenomena do constitute a common threat which demands the solidarity of all peoples, communism, all of that stuff, everybody being one. But in designating them as the enemy, we fall into the trap about which we have already warned, namely mistaking symptoms for causes. So what are the causes? All these dangers are caused by human intervention. It's your fault. And it is only through changed attitudes and behaviour that they can be overcome. The real enemy, then, is humanity itself. This is from the Club of Rome. A spin-off of the Club of Rome, or a side group, is the Trilateral Commission.
Who's a member of that?
I think it might
Willett?
be Keir Starmer.
So Keir Starmer.
Yeah. So
Man of the people.
Yeah, man of the people. Yeah, man of the people that are to blame for human cause climate change. Even though these guys are jetting everywhere in these big jets, and we're not.
Well, I mean, it's clever. We talk about, you know, the nefarious groups that basically run proceedings. I don't like them. They're evil. But that's clever. Get them to blame themselves, basically, which is what climate change is. And to be fair, you could apply COVID to that, where you were blaming each other. Stay in your house because you're going to kill granny or whatever. Fear your fellow man. You're a problem. If you want to bring down the population of the planet, which of course they do, and they don't make any secret of that, to create a fear amongst the population of each other and the fear of humanity in general, you're going to stop people having kids. I know people that are going like, do you know what? Too many people on the planet. I'm not having kids.
Really?
Yeah. And it's not uncommon. The people watching this, almost certainly will know people or know of people that take that stance.
My parents.
It's extraordinary. Well, no, they didn't take that stance, and I'm glad they didn't.
They did after the third one.
I'm gonna stick with climate change then. Actually, with mine, Richard. So today is Thursday, making yesterday Wednesday. I know that's not a great revelation. But yesterday, an organisation called the National Energy Systems Operators here in the United Kingdom sent out a press release and a tweet, because everyone does everything over X these days, that basically the margin, this was between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. yesterday evening, UK time, that the margin between the energy being created by the national grid via solar power and wind power, which is basically all we've got here in the United Kingdom, was so close to the threshold of what was being demanded of the national grid by the country, basically by industry, by people's houses. And obviously, if it goes beyond that margin, then you have blackouts. You have energy cuts out, and goodness knows what that means for an awful lot of people. And so I looked at that and I thought, right, well, this is just insanity then, because what we had in this country, when they'd done away with coal-fired power stations to the large part in the kind of late 90s, around about Tony Blair's era into the 2000s, they did away with a lot of them. And they demolished a lot of them, but they left a few, right? And they were decommissioned, but they could be fired up at the drop of a hat, basically. So as recently as winter 2023, so that's 13 months ago, this happened then. So the solar power wasn't providing enough energy, shocking given our weather here in this country, and the wind power wasn't giving enough energy either. So they quickly fired up a power station at Radcliffe-on-Soar, which I believe is just over the border in Leicestershire. It's not far from where we are now in Derbyshire. So they fired it up for 2 or 3 days, this coal-fired power station, and that filled in the gap, right?
Yeah.
So we kept all the hospitals and everything was still running. Fantastic.
All the
nice
life
one.
support machines.
Yeah. I mean, I think they've probably got their own generators. You'd hope so, wouldn't you? But everything kept going, right? That's fine. So then when Labour came in, instead of just keeping Radcliffe-on-Soar as a decommissioned power station, they basically went, well, no, it's done. We'll bulldoze it. It's over. So now we're in a position where if yesterday we had needed to fire up that power station to fill in the shortfall, it wasn't there for us to do it. So you've taken away the belt and braces. You just toss them into the wardrobe. We don't need them anymore. Now, the reason for that is climate change. Human-caused climate change.
Right.
Ed Miliband, another witless wonder, coming in with this whole net zero thing. We're going to lead the world. What that means is we're going to be the most draconian and worst to our population. We're going to destroy ourselves first, basically. That's what world leader in reaching net zero actually means. And so I looked at it and I thought, this is madness. Like, this is utter madness, because it can't be because of climate change, because China's been building brand new coal-fired power stations almost 2 a week for about the last 18 months to 2 years.
2 a week?
Yeah, 2 a week, mate. So it's nothing to do with climate change. It's nothing to do with climate change. It's to do with destroying this nation. And other Western nations are doing exactly the same thing. Now, people watching this that maybe aren't so into our kind of way of thinking might think, oh, goodness, mate, chill out. It's a bit early to be losing your mind on a Thursday morning. They're not doing it on purpose. And you can just ask yourself, if you wanted to bring down a nation, well, it's easier to bring it down from within for a start. You don't need to, you don't need to invade. You can destroy it from within. What were the two things that you would go for? Well, I'd go for the food supply of the population. That's exactly what they've been doing. And I would go for the energy infrastructure of the nation, which is exactly what they're doing.
And you will be getting rid of the human cause of climate change.
By getting rid of the humans.
By getting rid of the humans, yeah.
Yeah.
And it all, as you say, it comes together. Miliband's out there singing with his ukulele thing, singing his songs outside these old windmill things. What do you call them?
Oh, yeah, the wind turbines.
Wind turbines.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
You hate them. Not a big fan. It isn't a big fan. No, it's just a big wind turbine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the thing as well. Another sign that it's all nonsense. You've got these wind turbines that basically produce absolutely nothing. And then when they're finished with their use, which doesn't actually take that long after they've killed lots of, seabirds and stuff and wildlife, they're buried. They bury them in landfills because they can't dispose of them.
What happens when
It's not about the climate.
the wind turbine blows over?
Which has happened.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing, because if it's too windy, they can't use them. And if it's not windy, they don't work. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, it's madness. And if it wasn't so detrimental to our society, to our population, to our kids in the future, it would be hilarious.
Yeah, useless as a solar panel torch or an inflatable dartboard, really, basically, isn't it?
Well, we've got lots of useless stuff in this country. I bought a pair of scissors not that long ago, and they came in a plastic packaging that the only way to open it was with a pair of scissors.
Yeah. I was like, the paracetamol gives you headaches as well. This is a complete change of tact from that one. My next one. Now, this makes no sense when you look at what's going on in the UK now. As I said yesterday in yesterday's show, that I believe that the whole kind of bringing up of these grooming gangs again is to pit the Muslims against the British in a mutually destructive war, which is this biblical thing behind many of these politicians that are involved with this messianic agenda. Now, so this would make no sense. So Israel blocks UN probe into alleged sexual violence during 7 October attack. It blocks it.
So obviously the 7th of October happened, 2023, horrendous. People were killed. Now, we were told immediately, weren't we, that the Palestinians that had come over the border fence, lots of questions to answer about how they were able to do that, ladies and gentlemen. They then beheaded babies, which was shown to be false. They raped countless women and all this kind of stuff. Now, surely Israel would want the UN to get to the bottom of that. Would they not?
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? Israel has denied the United Nations permission to investigate sexual violence allegedly committed by Hamas during the 7th of October cross-border infiltration, due to concerns that would also involve investigating sexual violence against Palestinians in Israeli detention centres by the IDF. So they are saying you can't investigate this because you want to go and look into what we've done now. And I mean, the article itself is from the MiddleEastMonitor.com, but it's everywhere. So this is all happening whilst the likes of Elon Musk and Starmer, pretend enemies, as we said yesterday, are bringing up this grooming gangs here in the UK. Whilst don't look at what the right hand's doing, look at what the left hand's doing.
Yeah, it's always the way.
Yeah, Israel is blocking UN probe into the allegations that they made that there was sexual violence against these people, these hostages, on October the 7th. And when you scroll down, when you find out, this comes after Israeli authorities admitted that no allegations of rape or sexual assault have been filed from the 7th of October cross-border infiltration by Palestinians' resistance factions, despite extensive investigations. There's been nothing filed there.
Well, that's the way it goes. You claim something enough, all your lackeys across the media, across politics, particularly in the United States, will repeat it, and it travels across the world. And then later, when no evidence is shown for it, or limited evidence is shown for it, or evidence is shown that other things happen that perhaps completely counteract your narrative, well, it's already gone around the world at that point.
Yeah, it's the headline.
Yeah, and all you hear is, well, everyone knows that. No, they don't.
That's why the show's called Trending, because you're looking at the headline and most people don't read past the trending headline. So that would say, but even that one you would be going, hang on a minute, why is Israel blocking that probe into the allegations? Well, it's obviously to stop them looking into what the IDF have been doing themselves, but also the fact that there's probably nothing to find, which they've admitted themselves.
I think if you were to do an investigation into October 7th, which a lot of alternative people have, I think there's a hell of a lot to find. And it's a rabbit hole worth going down for sure.
It really is.
In terms of ignored warnings from the Egyptians, from the Americans, and from their own IDF regiments that were observing Gaza, were saying exactly what was being planned, what was coming. And not only did they not bolster defences on the Gaza border, they actually moved soldiers out. So there's an awful lot that went on that day that people need to look into. Some things are allowed to happen so that you can react to them. People would think that's disgusting. Oh, they wouldn't allow that to happen to their own people. No, you wouldn't allow that to happen to your own people. It's not the same thing.
Well, what people don't also realise is that they'll tell you well in advance. So from The Economist, and I believe, I mean, this is sketchy, but it looks like it's 2013. If you look at the front cover of this, that's going to pop up on the screen now, you can clearly see a Hamas soldier gliding into Israel whilst Netanyahu glides out of Israel. This was 2013.
It's well, they always tell you. I mean, what was interesting as well is Elon Musk. Without going on about Elon Musk all the time, we've had a bit of a heavy Elon Musk week, but he was tweeting about the fact yesterday that George Soros and his NGOs had been funding Hamas, and people were kicking off about it. And I made the point to him that, hang on, Israel funded and supported Hamas into being in the 1980s so that they would divide the Palestinians and create a faction between the PLO of Yasser Arafat, which was starting to get some traction. It was starting to get some movement. People were starting to support the setting up of a Palestinian state. And as recently as 2019, he was there at a Lukid party conference saying that we need to allow this funding to come in from Dubai. We need to keep, from Qatar, and we need to keep funding Hamas as well, because that is the best way to prevent a Palestinian state being formed, because it keeps the Palestinians divided. So he's happy to fund what he claims is a terrorist organization that's manifesto says it wants to kill all Jews. He's happy to fund that.
Well, exactly. They
Up
always
is down
do.
and left is right.
Yep. And he openly talks about that as well. And as you say, the Qatar, even the headquarters of Qatar, Hamas is in Qatar as well. And then you have Elon Musk meeting up with Saudi royals and getting funded by the Saudi Sovereign Fund. This crosses that line at the very top with Jared Kushner, who, by the way, is a Habadnik, Messianic Jew. So what are they all doing together at a football game? Who knows? Well, I think we do know, but, it's not completely obvious. It's so obvious that there's another level above this that's playing both sides of this thing. And then with you said that I heard Tommy Robinson was interviewed by a friend of mine actually recently, and one of his answers was that he wants the reason why he's against the Palestinian government is that the money doesn't go that's funded to them to the Palestinians, which I would agree with.
Yeah, a lot of it doesn't.
It doesn't. But when you've put the government in place to replace the PLO, then that's your government that you're talking about there. You miss that bit out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, my opinion of it is, and I think a lot of people might agree with this, is that, we're watching a stage, basically, and the two actors on the stage are fighting against each other, and they walk off left wing and they walk off right wing, and then when the lights come down and the curtains come down, they go around the back and they have a pint in the green room. And that's the long and short of it.
And laugh
at us sat in the audience arguing about who is right, the left side or the right side. So my final story today, Rich, kind of, I guess, is on the same lines in the fact that it involves Israel. This was in the Jewish Chronicle, which is a publication based in London, in the United Kingdom. They've taken time out from basically libeling people and getting sued for it to publish a piece by Michael Gove. Now, Michael Gove, it says on Wikipedia, so it must be true, he's a journalist now. He's a former member of Parliament. He's a very remarkable man who managed to get to the age of 57 and still not know how to clap. Watch that video, honestly, it's staggering.
It's amazing.
So he's written an article for the Jewish Chronicle. Now, bearing in mind, no matter what side you're on in terms of the conflict Israel Gaza, right? Because I know people that are on either side of that battle. Personally, I stand on the side of humanity. I think October the 7th was horrific. I think murdering people as a result of it is horrific. Stop killing people. That's my stance.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But whatever stance you have on it, right, the facts are you've got, as we speak, around about 46,500 dead Palestinians. Now those are the numbers of people killed by rockets, by snipers, by all that sort of stuff, not by the famine that's caused as a result of destroying infrastructure and aid coming in and all this kind of stuff. Like, they're actually counted differently. So if a baby starves to death, it wasn't killed by Israel. Well, it was, because Israel stopped the food getting in. But anyway, whatever. So say 46,500 dead people. Now 70% of them, upward of 70% of them, are women and children. Now, I'm not one of those people, Rich, that thinks that women and children's lives are more important than male lives. You know, where people say, oh, women and children are dead. Well, there's lots of dead men as well, and that's a bad thing. The reason I'm saying women and children is because I'm making the point that Israel can't use their deaths with the excuse that they were Hamas combatants.
No, but what they can say is Hamas had a base underneath the elderly people's building or the hospital.
That old chestnut.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm saying women and children is because, okay, they're not terrorists, these people. They're not combatants. They're not fighting age males. Okay, these are women and children. So 70% of the 46,500 dead are them. So wherever you stand on the conflict, that's clearly horrific, and it's clearly not peaceful. But here's Michael Gove. So Michael Gove has written this article in which he suggests that the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, the people that have killed these 46,500 people, should be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
It's like we live in a topsy-turvy, inside-out world, doesn't it?
It's insanity. It's up there with Barack Obama being given the Nobel Peace Prize before he'd even become president, so he hadn't done anything anyway. And then he comes in with his prize, nice and like, I've polished that. I'll put that in the cabinet. Everyone can come around and have a look at that when they come round to my house, which is right on the coast, even though I believe in global warming. Anyway, he then went on to drop more bombs than any other president in American history. He's got a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know about you, Rich.
No.
Right, but it's, what time is it in the morning? We're coming up towards 10 a.m., right? I've not murdered anyone this morning. I've not bombed anyone.
No, but yesterday when you couldn't get that software to work.
Well, yeah, that wound me up.
Yeah.
But, so I'm 43 years old. In my life, I've never killed anyone. I've never bombed anyone. I've never kidnapped anyone. I've never taken anyone hostage, right? Where's my Nobel Peace Prize?
I don't know. I think it's in the post.
Do you get my point, though, ladies and gentlemen? The IDF, who have killed 46,500 people, whatever your stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, a peace prize.
Well, it's the thing that's knighting Jimmy Savile, knighting all of these guys. It's an inverted, upside-down world. They want us to believe that by doing evil things, it leads to good eventually. So it's like, you know, do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. Love is the law. Alistair Crowley stuff. Everything is love. Oh, it's love. It's your perspective. It's morally deluded even. So you basically don't have any infrastructure there to kind of believe in what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
And it's confusing things over a very, very long time. The psychology of it is that for doing bad things, you get good in the end.
Well, this is the thing. I look at it and I just think, and we've spoke about this for the last couple of days. I spoke about it on this week's Gareth Right Tonight, where it's the fact that nothing means anything anymore. Words don't mean anything anymore. So if you want an inquiry into grooming gangs here in the UK, you're far right. Well, far right doesn't mean anything anymore then. So then you go, okay, I don't think Israel should be bombing schools and refugee camps. Anti-Semite. Well, anti-Semitism doesn't mean anything anymore then. And, you know, we spoke about it the other day, me and Jamie on the show. You know, the countryside is racist now. Well, then racism doesn't mean anything anymore. And what we've got with Michael Gove's piece of the IDF, you know, getting the Nobel Peace Prize, this is another thing. Well, the peace doesn't mean anything anymore then. Because if you can kill tens of thousands of people and be peaceful, then the word peace doesn't mean what it used to mean, doesn't mean anymore. And so I looked at Newspeak, because that was the first thing that came into my head, was 1984, George Orwell. Freedom is slavery, war is peace. Do you know what I mean? I thought, you know, this is exactly what it is. It's flipping on its head. And I looked at what newspeak was basically defined as, and it's the new language basically that's used in 1984 for people that haven't read the book. It's described as being confusing. Well, I'm pretty confused by all those descriptions. It's ambiguous. It's a limited language, and it's used to limit the range of thought. And I believe that that's exactly what we're being faced with. It's like, well, I don't know what language means anymore. If killing tens of thousands of people gets you a peace prize, if wanting children to not be abused makes you far right, then I don't know what means anything anymore.
No, it's chaos.
So it's chaos, isn't it? I'm confused. I don't know what the right answer is, and that's the point.
Yeah, just tell me. 2 + 2 is 5. All right, I'll go.
I'll accept it then, because I don't know. It used to be 4, I think, but I don't know anymore.
Back in my grandparents' days, in 1938, Adolf Hitler apparently was awarded the Man of the Year from Time magazine.
He was, yeah, he was, Man of the Year.
Yeah, it's been going on a long time, isn't it? This is the Tower of Babel. Said it right this time. It's the Tower of Babel. It's exactly what it is. You can't communicate with each other, but they have their own secret language, and that's one thing that's missing from the Tower of Babel fable. I like saying that rhymes, because there is a secret language, signs, symbols, colours, how they speak to each other. There is another language that they talk to each other in, and that's what I try and do in my shows, to show how they're communicating with each other.
Yeah, the symbolism.
Yep.
Looking at the handshakes, looking at how politicians and leaders of industry and corporations, how they interact with each other. Yeah, because they have to tell us, Rich. I firmly believe that they have to tell us. But there we go. It's another insane day in the asylum, mate. But do you know what I mean? Like we say when we do What If, the world's mad, but we don't have to go mad, do we?
Yeah, we don't have to go mad. But today's show was brought to you in association with Ape Nutrition, bringing British organic specialist food products onto the market. Head over to apenutrition.co.uk and use the code ICONICMedia for 10% off the range.
Fantastic. We'll see you tomorrow.